Hi guys, I'm Kelly with Mid-Peninsula Moms blog, and we are so excited to be here again with our contributing writer and beauty expert, Dr. Jayaram. We today are talking about skincare, and we are going to be busting some myths about skincare, which products actually work and how to use them. And so Anne's going to tell us all about that. We have 5 products here that we're going to talk about. We also have some questions that were sent in to us, and as always, you can ask them live. So let's get started.
Let's get started. Skincare is one of my favorite things to talk about. I just feel like everyone could learn something about it.
Yeah, and benefit from it.
Whether you're interested or not, you probably wash your face every day, so maybe just make sure you're doing that right?
Exactly. And that's a good lead-in because the first thing we're going to talk about are cleansers.
Yeah.
So tell us what we need to know about cleansers.
Yeah, so, in keeping with our Mythbusters theme here, I would probably just start by saying cleansers are great, but they're basic products, and it's probably not where you're wanting to spend your money at. So you should use one, but that's not going to be.
You should wash your face,
but that's not the bank breaker.
Okay.
Because that's not going to have the things in it that are going to actually, have long-term scientific results. Okay. So use a cleanser, use a gentle cleanser. If you're very acne prone, sure, there are cleansers with astringents or salicylic acid ingredients in them. I understand that. But, don't break the bank to get this high-end designer cleanser, something that's gentle on your skin and that will clean.
That you like.
That you like.
Yeah.
That's about it. I would say myth bust number 1, cleansers aren't where to spend your money.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Number 2, vitamin C and E serums. These are really popular right now.
So these are really popular, and I think this is something that actually does confer a long-term scientific benefit. So C and E serums are great. Vitamin C and vitamin E are antioxidants, and what that means is they counteract things like free radical damage, and we put ourselves through that damage all day long, every day. Okay. So it's things like sun damage, carcinogen damage, smoke, pollutants, environmental, things from inside that we eat or ingest. We're putting our skin, through a lot. And applying a vitamin C, vitamin E serum in the morning is sort of your daily protectant. Not only will it protect against these things, but it is also a pro-collagen stimulator, and you're going to find that to be a key buzzword in this whole talk this morning, because anything that gives you more collagen, more elastin, is going to make your skin look great.
Is this what we lose as we age?
Exactly. We lose it both with both age-related factors as well as hormonal-related factors. We just lose it. And it's really, you can think of it as what makes a rubber band stretch back, right? It's in our skin, and when we're kids and when we're young, we can stretch our skin and it snaps right back. It's a snap back. When we get older, you can stretch that skin and you'll notice it kind of stays out there for a minute before it snaps back. And so all of the things that keep our skin tight and radiant are really built on the cornerstone of collagen. So vitamin C, vitamin E serums are great for that. They're also great actually for tone and pigment. So we'll talk a little bit more about pigment later on, but they're just a good evener is what I like to call them. So the proper application of vitamin C, vitamin E serums, and you'll notice they often come in a dropper, and they tend to be liquid. One thing I will take this minute to kind of tell you is we'll talk a little bit about order at some point of skincare products, because order does matter.
Maybe we'll do that at the end after we've talked about them all.
Perfect.
Okay.
And so, the order does matter, and typically products should go from thin to thick. Okay. And so CE serums are a dropper of liquid, so they do tend to be quite thin. So that's your cue that that's one of the first things that should go on your face. Okay. And so that'll penetrate really nicely on a freshly washed, dry skin.
They usually smell really good too.
Okay, so occasionally.
Because I have one and it smells like oranges.
So they have needed to perfume these because the actual scent of CE serums are not so pleasant. Okay. So, I will say the gold standard of vitamin C, vitamin E serums in the skincare industry is usually you've heard of, or people talk about SkinCeuticals CE ferulic. It's a very, very common CE serum. It is the one I personally use. I actually use its cousin, SkinCeuticals Floritin. And the only difference between those is going to be if you run dry to begin with, you'll want the CE ferulic. If you run a little bit more combination, you'll want the Floritin. Those smell like, and this is going to be the weirdest weirdest thing I ever say. They smell like if you opened a pack of raw hot dogs.
Oh my gosh.
That is sort of the exact smell I get from that.
From that, yeah.
That being said, as soon as it penetrates your skin, within 5 minutes, that odor's gone. And moms can tell that this is the case because kids have no filter. And when your kid comes up to snuggle you or whatever,
like, you
if
smell
it's
like
still
hot
there,
dogs.
they'll tell you. And if it's not, they won't say anything. So I do assure you it does go away. But
that's so funny.
Yeah, it is an odd smell, but a lot of products have done a bit to counteract that.
So I use PCA Skin, and I guess they put orange in there. So when I put it on, I'm like, oh, this smells so good and fresh.
And it kind of goes, it's personal preference. Some people don't like the scent of things that have been perfumed.
Yeah.
So that hot doggy smell is kind of au naturel. That's just the way that product smells. So totally up to you what your preference is, but yeah, either
something
way,
you should
not a product to miss. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, something you should spend money on. Okay, the next one is topical hyaluronic acid.
So this is one of my personal favorite products, and I think that this is a product not to miss as well. So hyaluronic acid is, a buzzword again, one of the building blocks of collagen. It's a precursor. It makes fibroblasts produce collagen. That's kind of how that cascade works. Hyaluronic acid is found naturally in us already, but again, as we age and as we go through hormonal changes, that production sort of gets minimized. So hyaluronic acid in its topical form, and I'll make that distinction because I'm going to just quickly talk about its injectable form.
Well, that was what I was going to ask. Okay.
Yeah. So in its topical form is really great for two purposes in two different timelines. So immediately you're going to get a noticeable benefit from applying topical hyaluronic acid. And that immediate benefit is because the molecule of hyaluronic acid is hydrophilic. It likes water. It hugs water. It retains water. So you get a little bit of a moisturizing plump when you use it right away. That's the immediate effect. Now, after you use the product like this twice a day for 8 weeks, you'll start to notice a little bit longer lasting of an effect. And that's that you're actually getting a little bit of a micro fill. And we're going to talk about filler in a second, but in fine lines and wrinkles, this product is penetrating the epidermis. That's the outermost layer of skin, and it is giving a little plump to that. So if the line is very fine, you can see a result in it. If it's deeper, then you're going to want to take that same product, hyaluronic acid, and inject it. So that's going to be the fillers. We talked briefly about that last time at our last Facebook Live, and that's hyaluronic acid injected subdermally. So there's the epidermis and the dermis, and those fillers actually get injected deeper.
So these little baby wrinkles you can use the topical for, but it takes about 8 weeks using it twice a day before you really see.
Right. So a lot of the theme of these skincare products is give things a chance to work. So even with the CE serums, you're going to want to give it at least 2 months of using it correctly to see if you can see a visible difference. And so don't give up on it. That topical hyaluronic acid will sort of, help fine lines and wrinkles. And actually, I'm an eyelid plastic surgeon. All day, every day, people are asking me, what eye cream do I use? What eye cream do I use? You may notice that nowhere in my office do I sell an eye cream. And so, I'm a very open-minded person. If I meet one that I think is phenomenal, I'll start recommending it. But the truth of the matter is, oftentimes eye creams are the same products that we're using. They're marketed in smaller containers and the word eye is on them. But there may not actually be a difference. And I'll talk briefly, maybe towards the end, just about my favorite regimen for around the eyes, but it doesn't involve a separate eye cream. It's really just a compilation of some of these products around your eyes. Hyaluronic acid tends to be one of my favorite ones to put around your eyes because that is the area we get these really fine lines, especially, our 20 to 50-year-old age demographic. Those don't tend to be that deep at our younger age. So you can actually see a result from using this product correctly.
Awesome. And so this is twice a day. The vitamin C and E, is that once a day?
Great question. Yes, once a day, morning application. The reason I sort of think of it that way is that's your protector for the day. We're going to talk about different things that go on at night, but this is your daytime protector. So you don't need to protect yourself at night. It's the daytime.
And then the hyaluronic acid you do twice.
Correct.
Feel free to ask your questions live, guys. We're talking about skincare with our beauty expert. So the next one is retinol or retin-A.
Yeah. So,
and this is like the commercials you see, right?
Yes, yes. These are commercials. This is one of the most talked about things, and probably also a thing you shouldn't miss.
Okay.
So this is your wrinkle preventer.
Okay.
And so if that's the number one question you have for me is how do I prevent wrinkles, my number one answer for you is a retinol or a Retin-A. Now that's kind of confusing, so let's break down what that is. So retinoids are vitamin A derivatives. That's an umbrella term for all of these. Retin-A tends to be prescription, and that's because it is in its ready-to-act form, so it tends to be stronger.
Okay.
I personally use a retinol, and that is a precursor of Retin-A, and your skin needs to convert it into its active form to use. So it tends to be a little less strong, but it also tends to be ever so slightly less inflammatory.
Okay.
Now, some of the side effects of retinols and Retin-As, more so with Retin-As, is that you can get a little bit of a burny sensation, you can get red, and you can peel. And it really just depends how much those things bother you, how much they interfere with your day-to-day life. I don't, want to be sporting that peel, so I often opt for a retinol, and to be honest, I use my retinol every other day just to prevent a peel of any sort.
Okay. So you have to figure out kind of what works for you.
Exactly.
Okay.
But oftentimes people say, well, if it's making me red and irritated, is it actually bad for me? No, it isn't. And there is a little bit of growing pains you have to do with retinoids of any kind. You kind of develop a bit of a tolerance for them, and they become less irritating, and you can start to use them more and more. So it's a little bit of a graduation.
Okay.
Even if you have sensitive, people always ask me if I have sensitive skin, should I avoid it? There can be the correct formulation for you, so I don't think you have to count yourself out. And the other question I get a lot is if I have rosacea, should I avoid it? Actually, there have been some studies that show that retinols calm rosacea down, so it might even help you.
Okay.
So not something you need to cut out. This is one of the products that's a nighttime application only.
Okay.
It does make you a little more sun sensitive, so right before bed only. And then you figure out your cadence. So every other day, every day. Another question I get a lot as an eyelid person is it safe to put near my eyelids?
Yeah.
And so it can be. I just would probably stay away from putting the prescription strength Retin-As too close. They talk a lot about staying outside the orbital rim, so the circle, staying outside with Retin-A. When you get to some of the lower strength retinols, so I use Skin Medica's retinol 0.5 on my face, but I actually use the 0.25 closer to my eyelids. I feel like it's a little bit less irritating right there, and I want some sort of retinol around my eyelids. That's an area where we tend to get wrinkles.
Exactly.
So I would hate to just completely miss that,
So
altogether.
you might want to step down a little bit on the strength.
Exactly.
If you're going to get a little bit closer.
Exactly.
And is it easy to tell when you go into, a store? Is it easy to tell what the strength is? Does it say it on the bottle? I mean, can you compare? Is it like comparing apples to oranges, or is it pretty easy to compare products like that?
That's a really good question. You can usually tell, but as a rule, most things in drugstores are less potent than the things you can buy in your doctor's office, and even those things are less potent than the things that require a prescription. So it goes in that order. There are products like Rock Retinol and Neutrogena that will make retinol containing creams. They're by rule the least in strength. So it's a great place to start if you're trying to think about experimenting.
And to start trying it out.
And then I would recommend, when the next time you see your dermatologist or plastic surgeon, definitely just ask about the retinols they carry in the office, because sometimes these can be a little bit more result showing. So you may notice if a little bit stronger, right?
Yeah.
But they still tend to be retinols and not the prescription strength Retin-As. The reason I like retinol from Skin Medica is it actually comes in kind of a moisturizing formulation, and retinols in general can be drying. Yeah. So you
get a little bit of moisture with it.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the little tricks I do often with retinols and people who are wanting stronger, like 1.0 or stronger, is I have them mix it with a bit of a moisturizer or a night cream. One of my favorite ones is this night cream called Triple Lipid Restore. It's a SkinCeuticals product, and why that's a great one is it's called triple lipid, and that's what our cell membranes are made of, are lipids, right? So it's a barrier. So, moisture can get in and it forms a barrier.
My eyes are watering as we're talking about. I'm like,
I mean, am I catching you at an emotional time?
So worried about my wrinkles.
Yeah. So it might be a nice thing to actually mix.
So how do you mix it? Do you put like a little bit on your finger, a little bit on your finger, and then just like that?
Yeah. So I think this whole thing started because people were just doing them sequentially, one right after the other, and we noticed that like the mix felt good.
Okay.
So either application is fine, but it's a nice trick to do the two together,
especially if you feel like it's super dry.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, perfect. Do we have any more questions, guys? We're going to keep going. Okay, the last one is sunscreen.
Great topic, because this is one of the topics that, I was talking about in the beginning. If you have no interest in skincare at all, there's like two things you should do. Get a cleanser, and the other thing is get a sunscreen. Yep. This one's, I would actually go on this side of saying it's not optional.
Yeah.
So
you have to get
sunscreen.
Yeah.
And now when we're talking about, getting a sunscreen, I also don't believe these should really break the bank.
Okay.
Because you will find sunscreens in department stores for $300-$400. Like, I don't think that those confer $300 or $400 worth of benefit to you.
Okay.
So the things you want to look for in your sunscreen are the fact that it is UVA and UVB protectant. Okay. And then I tend to like a sunscreen that does have both physical and chemical properties. Okay. So what does that mean?
Yeah.
Physical properties is exactly what it says. It is a barrier to the sun. It blocks the sun. And main ingredients in physical sunscreens tend to be things like zinc or titanium.
Okay.
The downside of them is that you kind of have this white residue on your face.
I always think of zinc as like when you were a kid, that like blue, remember the blue lines that you would put on their face, that zinc?
Or I often think of lifeguards, right?
Yes.
Lifeguards used to smear that on their face.
Yeah.
It's highly effective because it actually is a physical barrier, but it's not the most user-friendly, and it can be slightly irritating. And the last thing is it actually takes copious amounts of physical sunscreen to cover. Yeah.
Okay.
So those are kind of things to keep in mind with physical. Chemical sunscreens are great. They actually absorb UV rays. So both UVA and UVB, they convert those rays to heat, and they kind of expel that from your body. So they are good for that. However, some people find these to be irritating, and some people find these to be pore clogging and prone to acne formation.
Okay.
So things to think about, you kind of have to see what works well for you. That being said, chemical sunscreens are often really thin and kind of apply very nicely. And so if you are really worried about the way your makeup is going to look underneath, sometimes it helps to have that combo physical chemical composition.
And how do you know if you're picking up a product? How do you know what it's chemical or physical?
Yeah. Well, typically, it should say UVA, UVB on it. So both of those should just be there. And I would love to say that they all just say,
but it's hard.
It's hard.
Okay.
So if you're wondering if your sunscreen has a physical component in it, you just have to go to the ingredients and
look.
So it's zinc oxide, titanium oxide. You're looking for these ingredients.
Okay.
And then you can often tell, like I said, from the consistency. So those thicker, goopier ones are often, and bright white are often physical. Yeah. Some of those thinner ones, the ones that claim to be tinted, which I kind of love, those tend to be
more chemical.
A little bit more chemical. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Okay. My favorite sunscreen is this SkinCeuticals Physical Fusion. It does have this universal tint. I'm obviously not a universal skin tone, but it still matches.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do that, but it just does.
It's amazing.
So it's light. I can apply it several times a day without messing my makeup up and things like that. It just feels good.
So that's actually a question that I have personally. It's just how often do you have to apply it?
Yeah.
Because I'll put some sunscreen on. I have a moisturizer that has sunscreen in it, and I'll put that on in the morning. But do I need to reapply that throughout the day?
Typically, yes. Typically every few hours, which sounds tedious, but I kind of just try to get in the habit of, before I leave the house, I keep one in the purse, one in the office. And so you just sort of reapply every few hours, or at least right before you're about to go out and get some sun. So, try to get in the habit of before you get to work, and then maybe right before you went out for lunch, and then right before you get home.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So a couple times a day.
A couple times a day is usually the benefit. I mean, they don't stick around forever. You know this from when you put makeup on.
And you can just put it on over your makeup.
You can. There are some pretty good ones too. I know Kate Somerville is a brand that makes a really good spray-on sunscreen too. And it's
cool.
all the components of the things we talked about. But if you have a full face of makeup on and you're not wanting to mess anything up.
That's like mixturing me at the beach.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other one that I think has spawned a lot of interest in all sorts of crowds of people who wear makeup is color science. You may have heard color science is a powder that's sunscreen. So
interesting. You can just apply your powder.
You just kind of apply it on. It's got a nice, easy finish. It goes on right over your makeup, and it does confer sun protection. So
okay. That's perfect. Yeah. So we have some questions that were sent in. I'm going to throw my phone over here. It's buzzing. Okay. So we were just talking about SPF, so this is perfect. What strength of SPF should I buy for my face? Yeah,
this is a great question because I feel like people love to talk about it. Like you'll have that friend who's like, I wear 105.
Yeah.
Okay. So I do recommend at least getting an SPF 30. But as you've probably heard, there is like diminishing returns with this. So it may not be, the most effective thing to get, very, very high SPFs. And so, I would say if I just had to give you a rule of thumb, 30 is great. And then if you're having to break the bank to get the 100, don't. Yeah, not worth it.
Not worth it.
Diminishing returns, yeah.
Okay. Should I exfoliate with a sugar scrub?
Yeah, so these are kind of popular now. Huh?
Yeah, I think they have the body scrubs too. They're kind of nice.
Yeah, so I do like the concept of exfoliating in general. Exfoliating is a tool that will help you get your dead skin cells off and reveal a more luminous skin, tone.
That sounds fabulous.
Yeah,
I love the way
great.
she described it.
There's younger skin waiting right underneath that top layer. It's just trying to get out. And so one of the things I do in my office a lot for this is a clinical grade peel. Okay. And so I give people peels. It's an application of, a sort of, I pass the peel over their face a few times, and maybe a few days later, they actually start to see a very visible peel. Okay. So this is like exfoliating on steroids, right? Okay. So if you're at home and you don't want to undergo one of these procedures, exfoliating every now and again is a great idea. I probably don't recommend intensive exfoliation every day, but exfoliating will get some of the dead skin off. Now, you talked about, in particular, about sugar scrubs, which is interesting because typically you can either have just like Dove soap with exfoliants in it, or you'll see things like salt scrubs, or you'll see sugar scrubs. Now, people love the concept of organic things, right? We just right now, we just love it. We love it. Yeah. We're in California, just let's embrace it. Yeah. So sugar scrubs are a good organic alternative. It's an all-natural thing. The only difference between salt and sugar scrubs is going to be particle size and abrasiveness of the particle. So salt is a very abrasive granule, and it will, sort of be a little bit more abrasive to the skin. Sugar tends to be smaller granules and smoother. Okay. So what you may find between the two is that sugar exfoliates you less, but feels better and causes less irritation. Okay. So you should just see what you can tolerate. See what you can tolerate. It's definitely not a bad idea. I don't know that it's like the one thing you should be doing at home, but it is a nice adjunct to your skincare regimen. Okay. All right. That sounds good. Do you ever recommend lightening cream for sunspots? Great question. Those aging spots. Yeah, I feel like we all suffer from some pigment irregularities from time to time, and most commonly you'll notice it always tends to be on your left cheek from driving. So right where you're sitting, in the car, the sun just kind of beats in. It's so funny because mine are like right here. Yeah, yeah. No, I want to take credit for being the smart one, but it just happened. It just happened. So there are a number of things you can do. There are a lot of, over-the-counter or drugstore Sephora type lightening products. If I'm giving you my honest opinion, I think they could potentially lighten a spot a tiny bit, but probably not get rid of it. Okay. And then when we step up to sort of hydroquinone based products, which you may have heard of as kind of a skin bleach, those can actually, have some more effect. They're controversial though, because I think in studies on rodents with really, really high concentrations of hydroquinone, they were found to be pro-carcinogenic or cancer forming.
Okay.
So how they work is they actually just help you decrease your production of melanosomes, or the cells that make pigment.
Okay.
So there is a scientific basis for those kinds of bleaching creams, but it really is about what you're willing to put your skin through. And so
Controversial. Yeah.
it's controversial.
Yeah.
I tend to not recommend them to my own clients. I like hydroquinone-free lightening agents. SkinMedica makes a lightening agent called Lightera. It's hydroquinone-free. So, sometimes, things like that end up working pretty well. I also have to say I'm a little partial to my laser. We talked a little bit about it before. Fraxel does such a good job of taking away sunspots that it's hard for me to recommend a cream that could potentially have deleterious effects.
Yeah. Might as well just go get the laser.
Get the laser. Yeah, right.
Okay. Should my moisturizer be a cream or an oil? Oils feel trendy right now. Are they really better?
So great question. And this answer really just depends on the underlying makeup of your skin. So people either run really dry, they run really combination. You'll hear people call the T-zone.
Yeah.
That T-zone is oily, or you're just oily to begin with. Obviously, if you're oily to begin with, you don't want to be using an oil. The big worry there is clogging the pores.
Okay.
And so the last thing we want to do is put you through something that's going to make you more prone to acne formation. So typically really luxe feeling creams have been the best sort of option. And that's kind of how I feel about the SkinCeuticals Triple Lipid. It's a nice thick cream that will actually form a barrier. And so the barrier formation is really interesting because, you can hydrate and that hydration can evaporate.
Right.
So that's why Triple Lipid, I think, is a really interesting product. It keeps that moisture around. I tend to only recommend these types of products at nighttime because I don't want to walk around all day feeling like I have a heavy cream on my face.
Yeah.
So
especially if you're putting all that sunscreen on.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so I tend to use my topical hyaluronic acid as my daytime hydrator, and a more robust cream at night for overnight hydration. Yeah.
Okay. So that was our last question that was sent in. Again, feel free to ask us question live. I do want to talk about the order.
Yeah.
So let's take a minute and talk about the order that we should be using these products.
Yeah, and I think I may just take this opportunity to use this as I'll just kind of explain my morning.
Okay.
And then that'll kind of give you guys an idea of what I think is the right way to sort of apply these products.
Okay.
So I start out with something we didn't talk about, which is a cheapo drugstore Neutrogena microdermabrader. Okay. And it's like this $25 device that you can turn on and off.
This is a brush thing?
Instead of bristles, it has a little sandpaper circle, and you just keep replacing the sandpaper circle.
Okay.
And that's the way I exfoliate, but it's a really light, gentle exfoliation.
Okay.
So I sort of start the morning with that just to kind of feel like I'm working with a fresh palette.
Mm-hmm.
Then I use a cleanser. My cleanser happens to be Lancome. It's just because I used it when I was younger. My mom used it. I like it. It's not very expensive. It's called Creme Radiance. I feel like it gives me a nice little glow after I use it, but there's nothing special in it and absolutely nothing irritating in it.
So I'm an Aveeno girl all the way.
Aveeno, CeraVe, Lancome, these are all Neutrogena, Dove. These are all great brands.
Yeah.
Not expensive, and they don't boast to give you a whole new face.
Right.
They just say we're a cleanser.
Gentle cleanser.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my cleanser.
Hey, Callie. Hey, Becky.
I then go on to use my SkinCeuticals Floritin, which is this vitamin C serum that I use.
So you clean your face, and then you put your vitamin C in.
Right. And let me explain how to use these products in such a way that we're not wasting them. So these come in droppers, and 4 to 5 drops in your hand should be enough for your face and your neck. We've talked a lot about skincare products, and the one thing I just want to use this opportunity to say is don't neglect your neck. Your neck can age too. So you do want to put all of these products a little bit on your neck. All of them,
just a little bit.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Okay. So 5 drops. That means that this bottle should be lasting me several months to 8 months. In fact. So I have a lot of clients who are coming in very frequently to refill, and I'm just sort of wondering, what's going on? Yeah. There's not really a benefit to overusing these. If a little is more isn't better, you're just sort of wasting some of the product. And you'll notice if you put too much product on when you rub your face, some of it will just literally come off in your hand. So you know you've done a little bit too much that way.
Okay.
After my CE serum, I then go to my hyaluronic acid, and my one of choice is Skin Medica's HA5. The thing with that one is it claims to have 5 different sized particles of hyaluronic acid to penetrate through various size pores. So that one I use all over a pea size amount. So think about how little that is, a pea size amount once in the morning, and then I'll talk to you about my nighttime regimen in a minute, all over my face and a little bit on my neck.
So it really does go far.
It does go far. People are just overdoing it.
Okay.
And that comes in a 2-ounce tube, and that tube should be lasting you also 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
So, you know, these are long-lasting products. I know, you know, the stores are going to get mad at me because now less people will be buying, but use it. You don't want to waste. You're not wasting it. Yeah.
And I have to say, I use hyaluronic acid as well. I use PCA Skin, and I love it.
Yeah, no, it's great.
It is amazing.
It's one of the most,
makes a difference.
Yeah, it's one of the most liked products because it smells good. It's easy to apply, and remember, immediately after you see a little radiance, which is great.
I've only been applying it once a day though, so I need to fix that.
Yeah.
Okay, so cleanser, vitamin C and E, hyaluronic acid, and then what do you do?
So, and I will tell you, I keep things relatively simple. So that at the end of that, I do my sunscreen, and that's it. Okay. I am a little bit of a minimalist with this. I believe that if you give somebody a regimen of 8 products, they're just not going to do any of them, and then it's all for nothing. So I think
keep it simple.
Keep it simple. That's a great 4-step regimen in the morning. My sunscreen is that SkinCeuticals Physical Fusion, and then I go right into makeup, and I think it's really a very easy thing to do. Let's say even 4 is too much for you, then you're it's getting tricky, but then I would recommend just doing the CE serum. So I would say cleanser, CE serum, sunscreen.
Yeah.
And if you hate all of this, cleanser and sunscreen, and you can't go any more better than that.
Yeah, exactly.
So similar routine in the morning and at night. There's just a few little differences. So I start with my cleanser at night. And then a lot of people use like a Neutrogena makeup wipe first. That's totally fine. I think you can definitely do that. Probably doesn't take the place of a cleanser though, because you really want to get dirt and oils off your face. So you can makeup wipe, then use your cleanser. Then I tend to go right to the HA5. And so that's again a pea-size amount on my face and neck. And then I do mix my retinol, which is Skin Medica's retinol 0.5, with my SkinCeuticals triple lipid moisturizer, and then I put that kind of all over my face.
Do you have to wait a period of time? So like I always wonder if I need to wait after I put on like the hyaluronic acid to put on my sunscreen in the morning, or like in the nighttime routine, you put on the hyaluronic acid and then you put on your retinol.
Yeah.
Do you have to wait like a period of time, or can you just?
So full disclosure, the companies do recommend that. I just I'm moving quickly in the morning.
Yeah,
I'm moving quickly at night.
I have like too much that one food.
So I do try to just give it a minute, or try to rub it in and just give it a minute. But like if they recommend waiting 5 minutes between steps,
it's really
I just
hard.
Don't do that. Yeah,
no one does that.
So I don't think you're getting no benefit if you don't do the waiting. But I'm just confessing, doctors make bad patients. I don't listen to every little thing that they tell you to do, and I feel like I'm still getting
getting the benefits.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the regimen. It's pretty easy. I do think it works, and I think we did a good job during this Facebook Live of staying away from talking about things that I don't believe work, like fad type items, and things like that. So those are really the bare bones. And those are the things you need to know about skincare to be involved in the conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Please keep the conversation going. We can answer in the comments here. This video will also be uploaded to our YouTube channel. If you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, please do. We have lots of fun videos there. And thanks so much for joining us. We will do this again probably next month with a new topic, a new beauty topic. So thanks for following us. We'll see you guys next time.